Securing your VLANs. Let's talk about private VLANs. A private VLAN, also known as port isolation, is a technique in networking where a VLAN contains switch ports that are restricted such that they can only communicate with their given uplink. The restricted ports may also be called private ports. Next, I'll go over a VLAN ACL, or a VACL, as it is often referred to. VACL can provide access control for all packets that are bridged within a VLAN that are routed into out of a VLAN for a VACL capture. Unlike Cisco IOS ACLs that are applied on routed packets only, VACLs apply to all packets and can be applied to any VLAN. VACLs are processed in the ACL TCAM hardware. VACLs ignore any Cisco IOS ACL fields that are not supported in hardware. You can configure VACLs for IP and MAC layer traffic. If the VACL is configured for a packet type and a packet of that type does not match the VACL, the default action is to deny the packet. Packets can either enter the VLAN through a layer 2 port or through a layer 3 port after being routed. You can also use VACLs to filter traffic between devices in the same VLAN. Next, we will talk about the common attacks a VLAN may suffer from. As we already know or can figure out, there's a number of different types of VLAN attacks in the modern switched networks. The VLAN architecture, as discussed earlier, simplifies network maintenance and improves performance, but it also opens the door to abuse. It is important to understand the general methodology behind these attacks and the primary approaches to mitigate them. One common attack is VLAN hopping. It enables traffic from one VLAN to be seen by another. Switch spoofing is a type of VLAN hopping attack that works by taking advantage of an incorrectly configured trunk port. By default, trunk ports have access to all VLANs and pass traffic for multiple VLANs across the same physical link, generally between switches. In a basic switch spoofing attack, the attacker takes advantage of the fact that the default configuration of the switch port is dynamic auto. As discussed earlier, we should not use. The network attacker configures a system to spoof itself as a switch. The spoofing requires that the network attacker be capable of emulating 802.1q and DTP messages. By tricking a switch into thinking that another switch is attempting to form a trunk, an attacker can gain access to the VLANs allowed on the trunk port. The best way to prevent a basic switch spoofing attack is to turn off trunking on all ports except the ones specifically required to trunk. On required trunking ports, disable DTP and manually enable trunking. Another type of VLAN attack is the double tagging or double encapsulated VLAN hopping attack. This type of attack takes advantage of the way that hardware on most switches operates. Most switches perform only one level of 802.1q de-encapsulation, which allows an attacker to embed a hidden 802.1q tag inside the frame. This tag allows the frame to be forwarded to a VLAN that the original 802.1q tag did not specify. The thing about this attack is, it is not like the VLAN hopping attack in that this one works even if trunk ports are disabled, because a host typically sends a frame on a segment that is not a trunk link. Now that we've talked about private virtual LANs, VACLs, and common VLAN attacks, let me go ahead and show you how some of this can be configured.